The day I received the call that my husband had died in a boating accident off the coast of Florida, I felt my entire world collapse. But what I did not know then was that my real nightmare was just beginning, and the man I had loved for 12 years had orchestrated the cruelest betrayal imaginable. My name is Rebecca Chen, and at 34 years old, I thought I had built a solid life. I was a high school English teacher in Portland, Oregon, married to David Hutchinson, a financial consultant who traveled frequently for work. We met at a tabled, mutual friends barbecue when I was 22, fresh out of college, with student loans and big dreams of making a difference in kids' lives. David was 28, then charming and ambitious, with a smile that made me feel like the only person in the room. Our early years together were good, or at least I thought they were. David worked long hours at Crawford Financial Group, often traveling to meet clients in San Francisco, Seattle, and Los Angeles. I taught English literature to 10th graders, grading papers late into the night, and sponsoring the drama club on weekends. We did not have children, though. We talked about it. David always said he wanted to wait until his career was more established, until we had more saved, until the timing was perfect. Looking back now, I should have seen the signs that something was shifting. Around year 7 of our marriage, when I was 29, David's travel increased dramatically. He would be gone for 8, sometimes 10 days at a time. Big client in Miami, he would say, kissing my forehead before heading to the airport at 4 in the morning. Conference in Austin emergency. Meeting in Phoenix. I accepted this as normal. He was building his career. I was supportive. That is what good wives did. Right. I threw myself into my work, developing a new creative writing curriculum and mentoring struggling students. My paycheck of $52,000 a year was not much, but combined with what David claimed to make, he said around $140,000 annually, we were comfortable. We lived in a modest 3-bedroom house in Northeast Portland that we purchased for $385,000 in 2015. The mortgage was $2,200 a month, which we split from our joint account. But what I did not realize at the time was that I was the only one actually contributing to that joint account. David had set up our finances when we first got married, explaining that it was simpler if he managed everything since he worked in finance. Trust me, Beck, he would say, this is literally what I do for a living. So I direct deposited my entire paycheck into our joint account. And David supposedly did the same. He paid the bills, managed investments, handled taxes. I signed whatever documents he put in front of me, trusting completely. I was so naive. The first crack in my perfect marriage appeared at his company's holiday party in December 2019. When I was 32, I had taken extra care, getting ready, wearing a navy dress. David had complimented years earlier when I arrived at the upscale hotel ballroom. David immediately tensed. You look nice, his colleague, Marcus said, shaking my hand. We do not see you often enough at these things. Really, I laughed. I have been to the last 3 holiday parties. Marcus's expression flickered with confusion. Huh, David usually comes to these alone. Said you were not feeling well, or had school commitments. David jumped in quickly. Beck, let me get you a drink. He steered me away, his hand tight on my elbow. Later in the car, when I asked about Marcus's comment, David sighed. He is confused. Probably thinking of someone else's wife. You know how these things are. I accepted that explanation. I wanted to believe it. What I did not know then was that David had been telling his co-workers for nearly 2 years that we were separated, that I was difficult and controlling, that our marriage was ending. He was laying groundwork, creating a narrative where my eventual disappearance from his life would surprise no one. By 2021, our 10th anniversary, the distance between us had become a canyon. I could not cross. David was home, maybe 8 days a month. When he was there, he was glued to his phone, texting constantly. Work stuff, he would say. When I glanced over, we had not had sex in 4 months. We barely had conversations that lasted more than 5 minutes. I suggested couples counseling on a rainy Tuesday evening in March 2021. We were sitting at our kitchen table eating takeout Thai food in silence. I think we should see someone, I said carefully. A therapist. I feel like we are drifting apart. David did not even look up from his phone. I do not have time for that. Beck, work is insane right now. We have to make time. Our marriage, Our marriage is fine, he cut me off, his tone flat. You are being dramatic. This is just what happens when people have demanding careers. That conversation ended there. I felt sick, a knot forming in my stomach. But I told myself he was stressed. I convinced myself that if I just held on, if I was patient and understanding, we would get through this rough patch. For the first time in our marriage, I felt truly alone. Over the next 18 months, David's absences became my new normal, and the financial pressure he placed on our household grew in ways that I am ashamed to admit I did not fully recognize. In June 2021, David approached me with a concerned expression I had seen many times before. "Beck, I need to talk to you about something important." We sat in the living room and he explained that his company was going through restructuring. Some clients had pulled their accounts. His commissions were down. "I'm going to be short about $12,000 this quarter," he said, looking genuinely worried. "Can you cover more of the household? Expenses for a few months, just until things stabilize." Of course I said yes. He was my husband. Partners help each other. I took on the full mortgage payment of $2,200, the utilities averaging $380, the groceries running about $650 monthly, and our car insurance of $245. I also started paying for all of David's travel expenses. When he claimed his corporate card had been temporarily suspended during the restructuring, another $800 to $1,200 per month for his flights and hotels that would supposedly be reimbursed later. The reimbursement never came. These things take time with accounting. David assured me in August, when I asked, "You know how corporate bureaucracy works?" By October 2021, I had depleted my savings account from $18,500 to $3,200. I was 33 years old, and suddenly living paycheck to paycheck on a teacher's salary, while my financial consultant husband contributed essentially nothing. When I expressed concern, David got defensive. "I am working my ass off trying to rebuild my client base," he snapped. "Do you think this is easy for me? Do you think I like asking my wife for money?" I felt guilty for bringing it up. I apologized. I told him I knew he was doing his best. What I would later discover was that David's income had not dropped at all. In fact, he had received a promotion in May 2021, with a salary increase to $168,000 annually. Every dollar of his paycheck was going into a separate bank account. I did not. I know existed an account in his name, only at a different bank where he had been accumulating wealth, while I struggled to keep us afloat. In December 2021, David came home from a business trip to San Diego with an expensive request. His mother was turning 70 in February, and his sister Amanda was planning a big family celebration in Scottsdale, Arizona. Amanda is asking everyone to chip in $3,000 for the party venue and catering. David said, "It is at this really nice resort." I looked at our bank account balance, $1,847. "David, I do not think we can afford that right now," I said carefully. "With everything else. It is my mother's 70th birthday, Rebecca." His use of my full name was always a warning sign. Family is important. Or does that not matter to you? The guilt trip worked. I put $3,000 on my credit card, which had a 19.8% interest rate. I did not even attend the party, because I could not afford the flight or time off work during the school semester. David went alone, posting pictures on Facebook of himself and Amanda toasting their mother at a gorgeous resort I had helped pay for but would never see. The financial exploitation tally was building mortgage coverage, utilities, groceries, David's travel expenses, and the birthday party I had paid over $29,000 in 6 months, while David contributed zero and complained about his financial struggles. In March 2022, I discovered something that made my stomach drop. I was looking for our tax documents in David's home office, a room he had claimed as his own, and asked me not to disturb. I opened the wrong drawer and found credit card statements for cards I had never seen before. 2 credit cards, both in David's name, only with balances totaling $47,000. When I confronted him that evening, shaking David's face went through a transformation. Surprise, then anger, then wounded victimhood. "You went through my private papers?" he asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "David, you have $47,000 in credit card debt. I did not know about. What is this? Those are business expenses from before the restructuring, he said smoothly. I have been trying to pay them down without worrying you. I guess that backfired. That night, lying in bed staring at the ceiling, while David snored beside me, I felt something shift inside me. Something felt wrong. The math was not adding up. The stories had too many holes. But I was not ready to act on that feeling. Yet I was still choosing loyalty over logic. In May 2022, David announced he needed to attend a 3-week training program in Tampa for a new financial planning certification. This will really help us get back on track. Financially, he promised. The company would cover his room and board, but he needed $2,500 for the course fees. I had $1,100 in my checking account, and payday was 2 weeks away. Can it wait until I started? The registration deadline is Friday, Beck. If I miss this, I miss the career opportunity. I borrowed $1,500 from my colleague and friend Maya, lying and telling her it was for emergency dental work. The shame of that lie still burns. David left for Tampa on a Sunday morning. He called twice during the 3 weeks. Brief, distracted conversations. Super busy with coursework, he would say, "I will call you back later." He never did. When he returned, he seemed different. Lighter, happier. I asked about the certification. "Got it," he said. But he never showed me any paperwork. Never mentioned the credential again. Never explained how it would help his career. What I did not realize then was that there was no certification program. David had spent 3 weeks in Tampa, but not for training. He was setting up a life there, apartment hunting, opening new bank accounts, establishing residency. He was planning his exit, and I was funding it, with borrowed money and depleted savings. By July 2022, I had paid an additional $18,900 over the previous 4 months, bringing my total financial contribution since June 2021 to nearly $48,000. I had $387 in my savings account. I had $8,200 in credit card debt. At high interest rates, I had borrowed money from a friend under false pretenses, and my husband had contributed nothing. I was 34 years old, exhausted from teaching, and from carrying our entire household financially, emotionally drained from a marriage that felt like it was dying by inches, and still somehow I believed we could save it if I just tried, harder, gave more, loved better. The universe was about to teach me a brutal lesson about the difference between loyalty and self-destruction. The call came on September 14th, 2022 at 6:47 in the morning. I was making coffee before school, already mentally planning my lesson on The Great Gatsby, when my phone rang with a Florida number I did not recognize. Mrs. Hutchinson. A man's voice, formal and careful. "This is Officer Martinez with the St. Petersburg Police Department. I am calling about your husband, David Hutchinson." My hand froze on the coffee pot. "Yes. What is wrong?" "Ma'am, I am very sorry to inform you that your husband was involved in a boating accident yesterday evening. His vessel capsized approximately 8 miles off the coast during severe weather. The Coast Guard recovered the boat, but husband is missing and presumed dead. I am so sorry for your loss." The coffee pot slipped from my hand and shattered on the kitchen floor. Hot coffee splashed across my legs, but I did not feel it. I could not breathe. David was dead. The next 72 hours were a blur of phone calls, arrangements, and horrible firsts. The first time calling David's boss, the first time calling his mother and sister, the first time realizing I had no idea how to access most of our financial accounts, the first time understanding that my husband's body might never be found, that I might never have closure. I took a week off work. Maya brought casseroles I could not eat. My principal sent flowers. Everyone was kind to the young widow. Then the questions started. On September 20th, 2022, a woman named Rebecca Chen called my cell phone. "Mrs. Hutchinson, I am an investigator with Lighthouse Insurance Group. We are handling the claim on your husband's life insurance policy. I need to schedule a time to meet with you and go over some standard question life insurance." I had almost forgotten about it. We scheduled a meeting for September 23rd at 2 in the afternoon at a coffee shop near my school. I expected sympathy, paperwork, closure. I was wrong. Patricia Chen was waiting for me at the coffee shop when I arrived. She was in her late 50s with sharp features and silver-streaked hair pulled into a tight bun. She wore a grey pantsuit, ordered black coffee, and did not waste time on small talk. "Mrs. Hutchinson, how would you describe your marriage to David?" The question caught me off guard. I did not understand why it mattered. I told her we had grown distant, that money had been stressful, that he travelled a lot, but that we were married and committed. She wrote notes and kept asking, "When was the last time you spoke to him? Did he mention boating? Did he mention Florida?" Then she asked a question that shattered everything. "Were you aware that your husband maintained a separate apartment in Tampa since June 2022? I said no. "Were you aware he withdrew $87,000 from an investment account and transferred it to a Florida bank? No. "Were you aware he purchased a 24-foot Sea Ray boat for $43,000 in cash 2 weeks before the accident?" I could not speak. Then she asked if I knew a woman named Sophia Martinez. She slid a photograph across the table. David was smiling with a woman I had never seen before. Patricia explained Sophia was a paralegal in Tampa, and that she and David had been in a relationship for 17 months. While I was paying the bills, he was living a second life. Patricia told me about his internet searches, how long before missing person declared dead, life insurance payout, drowning countries with no extradition, how to get new identity. I asked her if she thought he faked his death. She told me she believed he orchestrated insurance fraud and that he was alive waiting for me to file a claim. She told me I was not a suspect, but I was a person of interest, and that my cooperation mattered. Within 48 hours, I was sitting in a conference room with Patricia, her supervisor, and an FBI agent named Marcus Webb. I handed over everything: bank statements, credit cards, text messages, emails, authorization forms. They laid out the timeline. April 2021. Affair begins May promotion. Secret accounts. June financial exploitation. March insurance policy increased with forged signature. May fake training trip. Funds apartment set up August. Boat purchase. September staged accident. The plan was clear. Fake the death. Collect the money. Disappear. But David made mistakes. Sophia was one of them. Agents interviewed her. She claimed ignorance until they showed her phone records, proving she contacted David repeatedly after the accident. She broke down. She admitted David was alive, hiding, and waiting to reunite with her once the insurance money came through. On October 3rd, 2000, 22 agents located David in Quepos, Costa Rica, traveling under a false name. He was working for cash at a beach bar. When they approached him, he ran 15 feet before being tackled into the sand. He was arrested, extradited, and charged with wire fraud, insurance fraud, identity fraud, and making false statements. I watched his arraignment on video. David stood in an orange jumpsuit. His eyes found the camera, and his face collapsed. Bail was denied. Then, another truth surfaced. David had been embezzling from elderly clients for over 18 months. $347,000 stolen. The man I married was not just a liar. He was a criminal. Prosecutors asked me for a victim impact statement. I documented everything: the money, the manipulation, the shame, the self-doubt. On November 8, 2022, David pleaded guilty. On December 15th, I stood in court and told him what he had taken from me. He did not look up. The judge sentenced him to 25 years in federal prison. He was led away. I walked out free. The divorce was finalized on January 30th, 2023. David signed the papers from prison without contest. After 12 years of marriage, our legal separation took less than 15 minutes before a judge who barely looked up from the documents. The financial recovery took longer. Through the restitution process, I received $47,200, approximately half of what I had lost. But more than I expected. I paid off my credit cards, rebuilt my emergency savings, and opened financial accounts in my own name. For the first time in my adult life. In March 2023, Patricia Chen called me. She wanted to check in. She told me something I will never forget. In her 28 years as an insurance investigator, she had seen many cases like mine. People conditioned over years to doubt themselves, to accept strange behavior, to ignore their instincts. She told me financial abuse is domestic abuse. Even without bruises, It destroys your ability to protect yourself. By April 2023, 7 months after David's supposed death, I began to recognize myself again. I slept through the night. I laughed without guilt. I stopped replaying conversations in my head, wondering what I had done wrong. I understood something clearly for the first time. I was never weak. I was loyal. And loyalty without truth is self-destruction. David did not fake his death to escape responsibility. He did it because running was easier than accountability. I did not lose my husband in a boating accident. I lost an illusion, and in losing it, I got my life back.